Good afternoon, everyone. I hope that you are having a great January 2026. And this is the next installment of Men of War. It is the number 2 out of 3 episodes. These episodes are for the military arm of white supremacy, mainly here in America. And I am referencing the Pete Hegseth speech that was given back in September 2025 to the generals and admirals that he had called together from all over the world to give them a pep talk, especially since he was a platoon leader, which is way down on the ladder from being an admiral or a general. He was a young man, so his military service, of course, was not as extensive or as long as the men and women that he was speaking to during that time. So the creator of the universe has put it in my spirit to begin to speak to them directly. And I'm going to start off with the prophecy of Daniel, or the illustration of Daniel and King Nebuchadnezzar. So you may be well to know of the saying Mene Mene Tekel Upharsin. And so I'm going to do a little background because it is apropos to our day. So it says in chapter 2 of Daniel, first verse, it says, "One night in the second year of his reign, Nebuchadnezzar had a terrifying nightmare and awoke trembling with fear. And to make matters worse, he couldn't remember his dream. He immediately called in all his musicians, incantationists, sorcerers, and astrologers, and demanded that they tell him what his dream had been. Now, there are many men and women in the military that are very religious. There are different factions of religions that people subscribe to in the military, but the most prominent, as I've read, is Christian denominations of various kinds that they know the Bible basically. And if you know the story between Daniel and Nebuchadnezzar, is that King Nebuchadnezzar actually was struck by God to basically live as an animal, where he was put out to pasture, so to speak. And he was humbled through the Most High of having him going insane to do things at the base level of creation. And so with that illustration about how, I'm not going to go through the whole story because there's another one in here that I want to get into. But the background is that the creator of the universe had already humbled one king, one powerful man, bringing him low, even though he sat upon power, that he has the authority to do it over and over again. And we are living in a day that not only the king, but the kingship, the political structure, especially of our time, which is the Americana of the world, is also being humble and brought low. There's this kind of base, some may say even animalistic nature to what is going on in our world today. So when we jump in the future to chapter 5 of the Bible, we have a new king, Belshazzar, the king, who invited 1,000 of his officers to a great feast where the wine was flowing freely. And that is in chapter 5, verse 1. And this reminds me again, juxtaposing with the government of America calling all of these officers in to sit for a lecture, but one can imagine that they also too probably had a feast of eating. So the king had a vision, and he saw the words Mene Mene Tekel Upharsin, or Upharsin. He saw a hand writing on a wall. And so some of his officers at the party said, hey, there's a prophet in the nation of Jerusalem by the name of Daniel that can tell you what your dream means. And so, of course, the king had sent for him, and and offered Daniel some gifts. And Daniel says, no, keep your gifts. I'll go ahead and tell you what's going on. And so when you drop down to that same chapter, chapter 5, going through verse 18, starting with verse 18, again, I am using, not again, but I'm using the Living Bible, which is more of a general interpretation of the scriptures. It doesn't use the thee and the thou, and it just kind of tells you in plain language what is going on. So I'm going to read here starting on 18. It says, Your Majesty, and this is from Daniel, Daniel speaking, the Most High God gave Nebuchadnezzar, who long ago preceded you, a kingdom and majesty and glory and honor. 19. He gave him such majesty that all the nations of the world trembled before him in fear. He killed any who offended him and spared any he liked. At his whim, they rose and fell. And this is where we are in the nation today with America, being that she is able to threaten anyone. She's able to go to war with anyone. She's able to do with anyone as she wills, and that the nations still have to bow down to her. Yes, there are not a lot of naysayers out there saying that America has quote unquote fallen, but she does have a strong military that is able to bullguard its way, or the aims of the kings of this world to have their bidding carried out. It goes on to say in verse 20, but when his heart and mind were hardened in pride, God removed him from his royal throne and took away his glory. And he was chased out of his palace into the fields. His thoughts and feelings became those of an animal, and he lived among the wild donkeys. He ate grass like the cows, and his body was wet with the dew of heaven, until at last he knew that the Most High overrules the kingdoms of men, and that he appoints anyone he desires to reign over them. And this is exactly where we are today, right now, that the proud have to be humbled. And when I think about that setting with those admirals and generals being lectured to by someone who in rank was well beneath them, but had been elevated to a status of power by someone else who is the president of the United States, that didn't even go to war, that some have said had dodged the draft of the Vietnam War, to lecture to them and to use their might and power, to use you, those of you who are military, to use your might, your power, your know-how, to do their bidding, to enrich themselves, and the arrogance in which they do it, that some may be called to justice, some may be called to reason, some may be called to prophecy in order to be dealt with properly. So it goes on in verse 22, says, and you, his successor, O Belshazzar, you knew all this, yet you have not humbled. So what that means to me or what that has illuminated for me in this day is that you all, the 800 that were there, you know things that the rest of the masses don't. You are privy to secrets. You are privy to technologies that the rest of us don't know. You are privy to what is really going on behind the scenes in the political sphere. As I understand, many of the men, especially the one that was speaking to you back in September of 2025 and talking to you seemingly like he was your stepfather, that he now lives on a military base, and he lives on what they call the General's Row. He and his family and others of the administration of Trump are now living behind protective walls because of the madness that is being caused throughout America and throughout the world. And as of this date, a news headline came through that the president of Venezuela, whom there are reports that the general population of that country elected him, that they have actually captured that man and whomever else of his political cabinet, American army. One has to wonder, and one has to concede the fact that something has to be answered about this. But let me finish this uh, this chapter here. It says in 23, for you have defiled the Lord of heaven and brought here these cups from his temple, and you and your officers and wives and concubines have been drinking wine from them while praising gods of silver, gold, brass, iron, wood, and stone, gods that neither see nor hear nor know anything at all. And I'm going to liken this to the demonic presence that has invaded the upper echelons of power that runs this world. The those who have been who are spiritually practicing wickedness and have again been anointed, names whom many of the 800 of you know personally and interact personally. The verse goes on, but you have not praised the God who gives you the breath of life and controls your destiny. The whole earth, there's a difference between the earth and the worlds, that the creator of the universe has now stepped in, because again, he allowed Satan to rule for a little bit, but now that's over. So the world, the control of destiny is no longer in your hands, and it's not even in their hands, no matter what they do. It goes on to finish out, and so God sent these fingers to write this message. Mene, mene, tekel, upharsin. This is what it means. So Daniel told him, mene means numbered. God has numbered the days of your reign, and they are ended. And 27, tekel means weighed. You have been weighed in God's balance and have failed the test. And this is for America, by the way. This is what this is happening to America and to the hegemony of America, to the European nations that have gathered. So this is from Europe all the way to this side of the world. And Farsin means divided. Your kingdom will be divided and given to the Medes and Persians, or be given to the hands of the Hebrew, be given to the hands of those that are foreign to you, which are black folks, descendants of American slaves, are foreign to the agents and agencies that now rule this world. So why are these, why am I making this video? Well, there's a scholar by the name of Jack Goldstone, who was born in 1953. He's an American sociologist, a political scientist, and a historian. And he's written many books, but one thing that he's famous for is a saying that revolutions can only occur when a significant portion of the power elite, and especially the military, defect or stand aside. So defect to the opposite side, or stand aside and do nothing. So he also opined that it is indeed the elite, not all of them, but some of them, who mobilize populations in the past to help them overthrow their regimes. And you've even had some, like in the French Revolution, where although the those that were the fire, those that were the leaders of that were among the general population of the overthrow of the elite class, there was some in that conglomerate that actually, in secret or so, that were a part of that. This man once thought that capitalism would survive and that it wouldn't be brought down because of, there was no alternative. But now he says that no, because of where it's gone, that it is possible and to expect that it will fall. Hence, in the Bible, it says, Babylon has fallen, Babylon has fallen. It is a habitation of demons and hateful things. So what the Spirit is telling me is that quite possibly a significant portion of you know what the end game is. What the end game is for those that are now sit on your military bases and are planning whatever demise that they have for whatever projects and agendas that have been written decades ago. You know what they plan to do to everybody in this country. You know the truth of what the masses don't. And you know that Most High has revealed to you. And also, you also know, not all of you, but some of you, enough of you, know what they have also revealed to God's anointed, to Christ's kingdom. for many of them have reached out to you, to the politic, to the religious, to every aspect of this world that we live in, this Roman, Greek, Greco world that we're actually surviving and we're not even living in now. And because of this intel, you are now obligated to the claim of justice and to the keys of the kingdom. So I've said this in my other videos, but I'm going to repeat this. A scholar once said, and I tried to look for the name of that it was a man, and I can't remember his name, so please forgive me, but a scholar once said recently that there is enough food and housing and resources for everybody on the planet to live well, but there's just not enough for the greedy. Another statement is that he says America doesn't have a people problem in terms of resources ratio to the population of the United States, but that he says America in particular has a greedy people problem, that there's not enough. The consumption of the greed knows no bottom, and that it has elicited for the moral decay that we are now experiencing. And also that we have, some can speculate, allegedly, that we have now buffoons in the offices and halls of power running the yard, having only their self-interest to fulfill. And now we hear that you all are now dropping manumissions of bombs and whatnot in Nigeria and other places. And there seems to be this sense of power and pleasure on causing pain to the least of these of the human race, a drunkenness of power that is causing harm. And recently, of course, with the celebration of the new year, you can see these same people enjoying themselves in parties, dressing up, getting drunk, doing all kinds of things that will probably make Epstein blush at this moment or turn over in his grave, even if he's even dead. And I recall when I was watching that again over the weekend, over the week, I recall how when I was watching Pete Hegseth give you all the speech, how proud he was of himself and the pride in his eyes that he can stand up there and flex like he was flexing. And the end result that the creator of the universe gave me is that his pride of having the power to destroy lives, and to destroy lives based on skin color, based on the have and the have-nots, based on positionality, whatever class you are in, being in the ultra wealthy class versus being in poverty. He was banking on that many of you, and probably most of you in that audience, have a gleeful lust for blood, especially on the defenseless, and the urge to produce death on those that many around the world who really can't defend themselves against any armaments that America has. But I suspect, which is why I'm doing this tape, I suspect that there are some of you that are Cyruses of Persia. You who are willing to hear the voice of consciousness. You that have been placed in high places by the creator of the universe, even though you didn't think so. You probably did think that you did it under your own esteem. Listen and hear and consider what the Spirit of the Most High is calling you to do in your own conscience, in your own heart. While the Most High God can elevate people, he can bring them down, and then he can elevate others. And as we are told, he is no respecter of persons. And in most cases, when he has to humble the high and mighty, he will usually use those that are lowly in station. Yet, as with King Belteshazzar, his military men knew of the prophet and was able to inform him to help him figure out what was going on with his kingdom, or what truly the message that the creator of the universe had for him personally. So, what is the rot that infests America? It is greed and hatred. Greed and hatred with the sprinkling of lust, or in some cases, a whole gallon full pouring of lust. It is a volatile mix. It swallows nations whole, and waste rolls away to nothingness. Why? Because it has no bottom that is bound to respect, no boundary line of civility it will not cross. And ultimately, the lives of persons here in this nation and abroad, it will disregard for its own consumption. So again, the immortal words, mene, mene, tekel, upharsin, God has weighed this nation in the balance and has found it wanting, means that the date of Armageddon has been set. You see, everything's political, especially the military. And as for the number of the power elite willing to defect to the side of righteousness and revolution, only God knows the number and the type of defection that will be needed at this time. But strange is the movement of power. It can bring the mighty down and the powerless high. It allows activation within the souls of man, male and female, empowering them to do what God wills. Powerlessness causes a multitude, a vacuum that only can contain her spirit of activation. And God has numbered the days of America, and we are living in the last of them. Whatever saving could have taken place in this nation is over or long since past. And if you are one of the 800 that is listening to this recording, then you must choose this day whom you are going to serve. Are you going to continue to serve that which has planned a horrific destruction for humanity to the point where it is an extinction level event? Or are you going to go the way of the Most High God and do something that you have never done? Produce justice in whatever manner, in whatever way you can produce it. Let the light and the spirit of the Most High speak to you and lead your way. Justice is the first and prominent cure for all of humanity's ills. Thank you.